Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jaded as usual, and we got some updates going on with the Demon Hunter, which we're gonna get into first. They pretty much are revamping the way it works because a lot of people weren't happy with the resource management, and they also rearranged some of the skills so you get a lot more AoE stuff early on because there was a lot of single targeting that was going on with the skills that were available at low level. So they changed that, and then with the resource, basically now there's ability to generate hatred, and then there's hatred spenders. So similar to the way the barb and the monk work, but the difference is the demon hunter's resource still regenerates, and they say I believe Bashak said it regenerates about 50%, or about half as much as it used to. So it's a little bit slower on the way on like how it generates, but because you have these hatred generating abilities, it now has a much smoother feel to it, so that you're never like hatred starved, and you can keep playing the game with your abilities, because all the other classes pretty much don't auto attack or don't just normal swing. You're always using your skills, and they don't want the demon hunter to be any different than that. They want, you to be using your abilities all the time. So that's getting a big revamp, and on top of that, they also changed the way that skills, specifically the wizard and the witch doctor, all the caster classes, the way that their skills do damage. So in the past, it was sort of a set, 1 to 2 damage, for instance. But now they're going off weapon damage, so it's percentage based on your weapon for all the skills across the board. And early on, I was kind of worried about this because just the way the different classes scaled, like wizard was like way better than, say, a barb in the early game because your gear is crappy, right? So you're gonna want these straight damaging skills, but they realized this is a problem, and I even noticed it being a problem in the recent beta build. I was watching Force play, and he picked up Fan of Knives. It did 2 to 2 damage. It was just terrible, and it was unusable because it was just so bad. And so by changing all the skills to be percent based like they're doing now, it's gonna go off your gear, so you don't have that problem anymore. I'm glad they're changing this now because, if they had kept this in the game, it's a big mechanic of how the casters worked. And so I'm just happy that they realized this was an issue and are going ahead with this huge step to making all skills weapon-based damage. So next up, they updated the community site, and this might not be up for long, and I'll tell you why. So they updated all the items, and you can go right now and look at all the items. They're not finished. This is like the first public version of us seeing the inner workings of the item system and what's to come in terms of endgame gear and all that leveling up gear that's going to drop for us. The reason they're thinking of taking it down, I don't know if they will. They might by the time this video goes up. People are just taking this at what it's worth, face value. They think these are finished items. They don't realize that this is not done, because if you go and look, nearly every single item has random attribute. For some items, that's going to be true. There's going to be random attributes, but for a lot of these are going to be fleshed out and finished. I have to wonder how much of that is actually still going to be random, because I think it's cool to have a random attribute show up on a set or legendary or whatever, because it gives a sort of chance to have like the best of the best, and that's what Diablo's all about. It's about randomness and the potential, like the gambling on item drops. So yeah, they might take it down because of this. I'm gonna link to it if it's not up. That's what happened. But I wanted to go into a little detail of what was on there and talk about what interesting things showed up on there. So first off, scrolls of reforging. So these are for level 50 and below items. They can't be used on the end game stuff. It basically resets, and it's another way to gamble with your chances of getting a perfect or just getting better stats on a gear. Because it's lower level stuff, I think it's just going to be, throw it on whatever to see if you can get better stats. If you're not satisfied with, how your legendary turned out, you can just throw one of these scrolls on there and get another chance at it, which is pretty cool. You know, when you're leveling up, you don't always get the best of the best. So it just gives you another chance to do it. The next thing is dyes. So there is a ton of dyes here and a ton of different colors. They all have pretty interesting like little blurbs about where they came from or some little unique fact about them, which I found pretty interesting. But the most interesting dye has to be the vanishing one. I have to wonder why they put this in. It's like, it makes you seem like you don't have gear on, which is kind of weird to me. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, but it's kind of cool that they at least thought of it. And I have to imagine if they allow this in PvP, it's going to be pretty hilarious. A bunch of naked people fighting. Then there's gems, and there's only 4 colors. They cut 2 of them. So the reason there's only 4 colors is because there's only 4 stats, and so they didn't need the other gems because they just want to keep it to those stats and be stat specific. But the cool thing is these all do different things in a helmet. So magic find or gold find or experience, and then the third one's movement and movement speed, and that's the only one that's going to be viable for PvP. And that kind of bums me out because there's no like real customization there for PvPers, but it just means you're gonna want, you know, the radiant amethyst for your helmet if you do indeed PvP. And then we have follower specific items. So the interesting thing here I found was not only do all the followers have item specific items, but they're also, if you look, it goes up to like level 50 plus, and I have to wonder if they went back on what they originally planned, which was when they first announced the followers, this was going to be a single player, which as far as I know is still how they work. It's single player only, but they had said that they only wanted them in the first difficulty in normal mode. But having these high level items leads me to believe that they kind of went back on that and said, okay, single player, you can play with your follower all the way through and maybe even up to Inferno. So we'll have to see if they announce anything with that. Another quick interesting thing here, you can see with the pots, the very end pot is about 8,000 HP. Of course, this could all change. This can all, you know, the number could be 20,000 tomorrow. Nobody knows, but it just leads me to wonder if that's sort of the end game. Like, if you have a decent amount of gear, that's about how much health you would have, or at least half of the health that you would have. Yeah, just something to think about, 8,000 health. And I noticed they also ramp up pretty slowly. So like in Diablo 2, if you remember, like using some of the lower end mana potions and just not getting enough out of them, or even the health ones, it seems like they ramp up pretty slowly, so there's never that gap of, okay, these old pots aren't good enough, but I can't use the newer pots or the higher level pots. But yeah, if the item page is up, go tool around with it, go check them out. Make sure to flip through the pages. There are pages. You might skip over that if you didn't notice. And look at some of the returning items, such as Stone of Jordan. There's a ton, Storm Shield, things like that. I believe someone on Reddit had said about somewhere around 60 returning items from the Diablo franchise. So there are some old favorites in there, and I'm happy they did that. So they did release some bad news, which is Diablo 3 is not going to be out until 2012. And they say early 2012. It's getting delayed. It's not coming out this year like they had hoped. There's just too much stuff to do. I'm okay with this. Personally, like I've said in past videos, we're all professional waiters at this point. We can wait forever, it seems. They've pretty much trained us at this point to be able to wait as long as possible. No, but I'm looking forward to putting together a computer, you know, that can crank out video after video, because at this point, this old PC that I have now isn't cutting it. So this gives me some time to put some money together, to build a new computer, to get ready for the massive content. But the most interesting, maybe the sad part, or I guess actually if you think about it, the pretty cool part is They're contests for Diablerds. If you guys didn't know about this, you're basically they're having people grow beards out until the release of the game. They even mentioned it in here because they don't want people to become like homeless or something. I don't know. They're just making sure to cover their tracks. But there's gonna be some pretty epic beards if people follow through, and I'm sure people will. Maybe not Gandalf status, but we'll have to see. So if you're like me and haven't gotten into the beta yet, and you're still watching people play the game instead of actually playing the game, something pretty cool that the people over at D3 Sync put up, they put up a Twitter feed for people going live with streams for D3, and I found this pretty useful and pretty just nicely done. It's also on their website. You can go and check that page out if you want, but I like, you know, seeing, hey, a new message on Twitter, that means someone new is streaming, and check it out. So I'm going to link to both of those things. You guys can, if you're interested in streaming, or rather if you're interested in watching people stream, head on over there. Anyways, dudes, I believe that's everything I wanted to cover. Hopefully Blizzard starts flagging some of the opt-ins, because currently they aren't. And it was kind of misleading when they released the whole closed beta started. Everyone got excited, but yeah, they just extended the FNF a little bit longer, the friends and family. So hopefully they start doing that, and we can all get in and play around with the game a little bit. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. I'm gonna go to sleep after I edit the crap out of this. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.